Hello fellow Clashers, welcome to my next episode of Challenge Winning Decks. Today we're going to be doing a fun deck that is not a giant deck. I've been seeing a lot of giant decks in the challenges and it looks like, and this one's different, which makes it a lot of fun. This was shared by my pal Haybola in Son of a Witch. It's a very strong minor cycle deck that uses the Inferno Tower as a defense against those really strong troops like the Giant or tanky troops like the Golem. Now this deck takes a lot of skill to learn how to play. It does not focus in just one or two main primary pushes. It actually uses a lot of different smaller pushes and tries to get some chip damage on the tower that your opponent just cannot stop, which makes it a very interesting deck in the fact that it requires a lot of skill to be on offense, and you also need a lot of skill to defend using it. So it takes some practice, but once you get it down, this deck is nearly unstoppable. Now when you're using this deck, you want to make sure that you are adapting to your opponent's playstyle and your opponent's cards that he has in his deck. The reason why is because this deck has an answer to all defenses, but you have to make sure that you find out what that defense is first in order for it to work. You'll see right here I'm making a minor minion push. It works really well. Here we get just a little bit of damage on the tower. That's fine. We like chip damage in this deck, and so that was exactly what we wanted. And minor minion is a really fun push, especially when your opponent doesn't have a whole lot of things that they can use to clear air pushes. Right here you're seeing a Mini P.E.K.K.A. Fire Spirit combo, which is so strong. You'll see right there we get a tower very easily because those Fire Spirits are so good at clearing those troops that distract your Mini P.E.K.K.A. Now, other really strong pushes include the Minor and Fire Spirit. A Minor Fire Spirit's an interesting one, especially if your opponent is defending against that Minor with Mini P.E.K.K.A.s or something a little bit tankier like a Valkyrie. Because those Fire Spirits will do damage to the defending troops along with the tower. And that's, if you have a tournament standard Fire Spirit, that's over 500 damage just from the Fire Spirits right on the tower, and that is fantastic. Another push that you can use is the Mini P.E.K.K.A. Plus the Ice Spirit combo, and the reason why that works is that works really well against people that are defending against a little bit tankier troops, like if they're defending with a Mini P.E.K.K.A. themselves or a Valkyrie, because that Ice Spirit will freeze your opponent's Valkyrie or their Mini P.E.K.K.A., which gives your Mini P.E.K.K.A. plenty of time to take them out and then make its way to the tower. That's such a strong combo, and it even works against people that are using troops to defend, like the smaller troops like the goblins or even the minions. The reason why is because if you do that combo and you have your zap ready, they'll expect that Ice Spirit to not completely take out their defending troops. And you can see right there that Mini P.E.K.K.A. And Fire Spirit combo is so strong. But Ice Spirit's really great because if you have your zap ready, then you can finish off troops that were used to defend against that Mini P.E.K.K.A. Now, we have the Inferno Tower in here because of situations like this, where we have the Royal Giant and things that, and we've already used our Mini P.E.K.K.A., so it's not really a great moment here. Now, we don't want to be using the Inferno Tower a ton because it is pretty pricey for this deck. This deck is a cycle deck, and so you want to be careful about using that Inferno Tower a ton. So if you can, use the Mini P.E.K.K.A. to defend against tankier troops, and then turn that Mini P.E.K.K.A. into a runner, meaning that he goes from defense to offense, and that's such a strong combo. The last really small push that works super well is the Princess and Fire Spirit combo. This is by far the sneakiest and the meanest combo. It requires a lot of skill to pull off, but the idea is that as your princess approaches the bridge and is about to lock onto a tower, you drop your Fire Spirits right behind her. The reason why that works is because oftentimes your opponent will try to defend against the princess with smaller troops like the goblins or spear goblins, or even Fire Spirits or little skeletons, even minions. And if you place those Fire Spirits at the right time, right before your opponent drops them, then they'll be ready to take out the defending troops, and your princess will be still locked onto that tower. You can take that step even a next step further if your opponent has a cycle deck by having Zap ready. If you have Zap ready as well, then your opponent is not going to be able to defend against that princess without making some type of an expensive investment in doing so, usually with something like a musketeer, which is just too pricey for a princess defense. Now, as far as other strategy notes, I did want to let you know that this deck does specialize in mini pushes that will land at least some damage on every push until your opponent's tower has no health. Because a lot of these troops are easily cleared with things like arrows or even a baby dragon, you don't want to invest too much in any one push. It's better to let your opponent defend one push and then continue on with another push as soon as their push has been cleared. When you're playing against heavy decks like a giant poison deck, it's really important that you don't let your opponent get supporting troops behind their giant. If they drop a giant and they get supporting troops in there, this deck has a really hard time defending against it. You still have good answers to it, so you don't need to be too worried, but if you can rush the opponent's opposite side, then that will be a really good situation for you, because they'll have to defend with suboptimal support troops against your push, and then once that giant makes his way to your side of the tower or the arena, then you can drop down your Inferno tower or even your mini P.E.K.K.A., which will clear him, and then if you have your mini P.E.K.K.A., you can go for another little push, which is exactly what you want. Now here we are playing, we're showing you the winning replay, the 12th round, where Haybola played against somebody that uses an interesting deck. It's a Royal Giant spawner deck. Now he took this all the way to the 12th round, so this deck is definitely nothing to laugh at, but you can see that this deck does such a good job against really all sorts of different troops. Right here, our opponent did not have anything to counter that mini P.E.K.K.A. Ice Spirit push, and here we've got a princess that is just really able to clean that up. And here we have minimal damage on our towers. Our enemy does not have, or has one tower down, which is just a good situation for Haybola. You'll see he's protecting his princess with those minions, and this princess is just taking down that barbarian hut so nicely. Now, I do think it's important that you know that this deck does do better in the one-time elixir during the first 2 minutes than it does in the last minute of the game, where we had 2 times elixir. And the reason why is because this deck does such a good job at little pushes, but when your opponent has enough troops to be able to clear your mini pushes fast enough, then that can be a little bit of a struggle. So you're going to want to try to make sure that you have a tower down during the first minute, and then depending on what type of a deck your opponent has, you may want to go to a defensive strategy with your Inferno tower and your mini P.E.K.K.A. And your princess, or you may also want to use your little mini pushes to keep a strong push on your opponent at all times. You know, kind of a defense or offense is the best defense sort of an idea. So just make sure that you're adapting to your opponent's deck, and the reason why this deck does such a good job is because you can adapt to nearly any deck with this deck. But you have to it takes skill and it takes a lot of practice, but if you can do that, then you'll be able to win the 12th round of challenge tournaments or even other tournaments. You can see that this deck does such a good job at defending with that Inferno tower while applying constant pressure to your opponent. Here our opponent, Salmon Vortex, just was not able to finish it. Haybola is super excited because he won his 12th round of a grand challenge tournament. Gonna open that and be way excited. I would be too. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch today. This is KairosTime ticking by, and we'll see you in the arena.